Right, it's 7 o'clock on the 11th of July, and it's time for another open office hours between Quidditch Post and Quidditch UK. I'm Matt O'Connor, as it says at the bottom there. I can get my hand in the right place. And I'm joined today by QUK President Mel Piper, Vice President James Burnett, and Teams Director Scarlett Hughes. So yeah, let's kick this straight off, shall we? We'll start with actually the most recent question from Lucy Q that came in about 10 minutes ago. Fairly simple question: will we be seeing QUK using UK QUK using Rulebook 10, the USQ's Rulebook 10, regardless of the status of the IQA rulebook that may or may not be in the works? No one's really sure.
So the short answer to the question is no. The long answer is we are going to continue, unless we're given good reason not to use the international standard of rules. That is the rules endorsed by the IQA. So if they do not produce another rulebook, or they endorse USQ Rulebook 10 before we start gameplay next season, then that will be the Quidditch UK rulebook, with review by gameplay if need be for localized amendments, which is what happened this year. If another rulebook or variant is produced by the IQA and endorsed instead, then unless we find strong problems with it, that is likely to be the rulebook we use. But we can't know for sure until we either have seen the IQA rulebook or have had confirmation that it is not coming.
So that's answered two questions. That answered my follow-up question, which was if yes, which obviously is not the answer. Would we see something similar to what we saw this year with the metal studs being allowed and whatnot? I hope we see, if we do take up the USQ rulebook, if IQA do it, I hope we will see QUK variations. That's two questions done in record time, I think, which is great. I'm going to stay with the rulebook, I think, with the next question, which will, with regionals being fairly early on in the season, sort of end of October, early November, will there be provisions for experienced refs who may be unable to be field tested prior to regionals? Will they be? I think the aim of this question is: will experienced refs that have not been field tested in the new rulebook, or in QUK's new procedure of qualification, will they be able to ref at regionals?
It will really depend on the success of the early stages of the qualification procedure, I imagine. Obviously, most people will have seen that the first of the training workshops for referees in the new system has been announced in Leeds. If memory serves, that's on the 6th and 7th of August. I believe the practical approach will be that ideally there will be no leniency and you will have to be fully certified to referee at those tournaments. But obviously we cannot do that to the point of regionals not happening, and we cannot do that to the point of abusing or overworking the people who are qualified. So if it's practical to do almost or entirely fully qualified under the new system referees, we of course will. If we have to allow some referees who only have the lower tiers of certification or have none at all, then I imagine we try to minimize that, and it would ultimately come down to the tournament committee and gameplay and events. But I feel like if you're looking for, do I need to get certified if I want to referee at regionals, I'd say yes. If you're looking for, are Quidditch UK going to do something really stupid and cancel regionals or make referees do 12 games in a day just to sit to their system, no, of course not.
So pragmatism is the name of the game, is the answer to that question. I will say now that seeing as you mentioned, ref workshops, that's something I've called for a year and a half now. So I'm really, really happy that's finally something that's going through. I really think it'll improve. Okay, admittedly, already good standards of refereeing in this country, but you can only get better. So well done, guys. Credit where credit's due. Again, with refs, with the new structure, if someone wants to qualify as a level 4 ref, how would they get a qualified QUK member to oversee their exam? Would there be a certain time in the year, or would you have to go out and find someone to assess you?
So the basic understanding, or the hope, is that the majority of our referees who get level 4 certification will do it in the same place at the same time at these workshops going on over summer, and we anticipate a demand for more academies happening during the season at crunch points, most notably sort of in month and a half before BQC. And we'd hope those are when most people will have their invigilated tests, and we hope not to have to devote too many resources to doing them elsewhere. Outside of those, it's about getting in contact directly with the gameplay team. The people to contact there are Steve Cochran, Dave Godden, or Tom Challoner. And they will be able to sort something out. I believe, although they would have to confirm that they've discussed invigilating tests by Skype. But it really will depend on the uptake and the success of the academies that are taking place over the next few months.
Yeah, I do remember them. Well, not them specifically, but the when the qualification came out, there was talk of using Skype as a last resort. Obviously, something that's probably quite useful to an isolated team such as Falmouth, among others. So yeah, that's quite good to know. That's not. So yeah, I think we've exhausted the ref questions, which is nice. Going back actually to the well, in a way, with regards to regionals, have bids been submitted? I assume they have, because you've not shouted at us to add more bids in. And what sort of the time frame we'll see for when will we know? When are they going to be? Where are they going to be?
Yeah, the main update is, you're right, we have bids for all 3 events we opened allocations for, including BQC, and we have at least preliminarily viable multiple decision options for all 3 events, which is a good position to be in. Game Plan Events are reviewing them at the moment. Don't have an exact time frame for them as it stands, but obviously we're looking, especially for regionals, with quite a degree of urgency. And we've been told that committee applications are likely to be out very soon. They're going through the exact personnel that will be needed and the role specifications for committee for regionals. So I would expect some kind of news about those fairly soon.
That's good to hear. It's it's never a good thing to see. Oops, we don't have anywhere for Northern. We're going to have to hold it in someone's backyard if we're not careful. So soon, TM, guys. That's the answer. Soon, TM. This one's coming from Phil. Which Phil? Don't know. But are there any plans for team expansion for next year and beyond? Probably this is something that we could do with Owa or Ollie Riley or someone like that in the expansion. But I've heard rumblings about Glasgow. So are there any teams in the works that could pop up next season? Beautiful, shiny new teams.
Okay, so we've just hired 2 new members of staff for expansion. So we've got Fabian from Bangor on Welsh expansion, and we've got Aaron from Kiel on Northern expansion, as well as Ollie and Oa. So we'll be getting all the new teams and stuff out. We've also hired Becca from Edinburgh to work on our Hooch initiative, and we've got Anjit working as teams coordinator. So we've doubled the size of the department, which means there's going to be loads of new announcements coming up. I don't think it's for me to announce where the new teams are going to be just yet. I think it's quite an exciting thing for teams to be able to do that themselves. But expect to hear a lot from the teams department, especially about Hooch, in the very, very near future.
So again, soon TM. I really hope those Glasgow rumours are true, though, because we can always do with more teams that aren't 3 million miles away from us in Scotland. I'm biased. What can I say? So we're actually moving on to our final sort of community question from Hannah El Shabaki, always a outspoken member of the community, and Hannah wants to know what exactly are we going to see our increased membership money spent on. Membership gone up from £5 to £15, tripling of fees this year. I assume QUK have got a plan. Lay some knowledge on us, guys.
Yes, of course we've got a plan. Okay, so basically, to start with, having all this money extra come in allows us to better manage our finances and predict budgets for tournaments, which means we can start planning and organising our tournaments much further in advance. Like, particularly this year, we had to organise things very at the last minute, waiting for team fees to actually come in before we could actually book a lot of our things like insurance, first aid, all that type of stuff, which we could actually do in advance and make it much easier for our tournament committees and actually produce much better tournaments at the end of the day. And as that's the main thing we do, that's obviously a very important thing. It also allows us to do a lot of infrastructure work and also things like developing our website, which blatantly we can tell he's doing, and make sure we look after our volunteers as well. Obviously, none of us are paid, and some people do really overwork themselves and burn out and all that type of stuff, and we will make sure that they're okay, because that's obviously incredibly important, because without volunteers, our sport doesn't actually exist right now. Also, it needs to be stated that we're no longer the organisation we were 2 years ago or even this time last year. We are becoming much professional and much more treating it much like GB, which is basically what we are, rather than just being a group of friends that happen to know a lot of people over the country trying to play this fun, cool thing. So we do need money to do that. We need to be more professional, and currently a lot of our departments work on little or no budget. For example, teams as Scarlet's here currently don't really use any money at all. Imagine what money could actually do to help us expand teams, all that type of stuff, and actually help us set up new teams and make our sport expand and grow and develop much more quickly and efficiently. So kind of in short, before I start rambling on, because it could take a while, I think we need to invest properly in growing our sport now. We're taking it seriously, and I don't think anyone can really disagree with that.
Well, no, this was something that was mentioned in the Knights of the Round Table, which me and Scarlett were part of a couple of weeks back, where we were calling for QUK to sort of step in and give growing teams a little bit of a hand up, and it sounds like you're doing that, which is good. Also, volunteer welfare, massively important thing in the workplace. It's something that close to my heart, close to many people's heart in the community, so it's good to see QUK doing that. We've had a last minute question coming in from El Shabaki again, saying that again with teams in the last year, 3 teams, so Napier, Sterling and Heriot Watt, I don't think Sterling will thank me for saying that, but that's what the question says, have become largely inactive. Are you guys looking to revive these teams? Any other teams around the country that may or may not have lapsed?
Yeah, so all those three teams that you've just mentioned, Ollie has been in touch with and has been working hard with to try and get them to start back up and start getting more active, inviting them over to Edinburgh to work with them as well. There's always rumours, and there's been a lot of rumours over the last few years of various teams popping up. But now that we actually got the staff that can work on these teams, then hopefully we should see them popping back up again. But at the end of the day, there's only so much anybody can do. We have to find that one spark that's going to set the fire for a new team to advance, and without somebody passionate that's going to get involved, we're going to struggle. But we have the people to find the people to ignite the sparks now.
Yeah, just a note, Harriet Watt appeared there very briefly, didn't really do much, but I think Hannah thought it was important. I'm having contacts message me. I'm sorry. Question. Going back to mental health, this is a question that I've just thought up. As many of you know, I'm a bit of a leaguey, and it recently was Rugby League State of Mind weekend, which is a weekend where they focus on mental health in the sport. Have QUK, with the amount of people that are almost aware of how damaging poor mental health can be, have QUK ever thought of promoting something like the State of Mind campaign that the RFL promotes? So I think that is a fantastic initiative, and I think if we could take that and run with it, it would help a lot of people in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Currently, in terms of our HR's generally obviously looking towards as well, all those type of things are things that we obviously are very passionate about. It's just a case now of just making sure we've got the man hours to go towards that and do more of those things, which we obviously all want to do. It's also important as well that we signed when we joined Sport and Recreation Alliance their mental health charter. So there's lots we can get involved within that as well, and about helping encourage awareness and helping treat mental health issues through sport as well. So that's cool to know.
That is good to know. I didn't know a lot about that. Talking of the Sport and Recreation Alliance, has QUK got any further with Sport England or Sport Scotland with getting recognition from those bodies as a legitimate sport?
Both we have looked into and basically went through. There's a pre-registration stage before you can actually attempt to be registered as a sport, and they give you a set of criteria that you have to have before they'll actually take you on to the next stage. If that makes sense. So currently, the things that hold us back are you need 2 full years of financial accounts, and you need 2 sets of minutes from an AGM. The first one, we will now have 1 proper year of full accounts due to Meg being wonderful. And then the AGMs, we should be holding one this summer, which means by next summer we'll then have all the stuff we need to actually start applying to Sport England and Sport Scotland and actually make the next stages. Basically, it's all a case of a lot of it is taking time. You obviously have to make sure you're developed enough and they can take you seriously as well. So we're doing all we can to do it and as fast track as time as possible.
That's fantastic to hear. It's just something that sprung to mind. I know it's been a couple of people a little bit worried about that, but to know that you need the 2 years, it's good to know that you guys are pushing for that. Talking of things QUK are doing, do you guys have any updates on the strat plan for us? Are you on track? Are you a little bit behind? Are you a little bit ahead? We'd love to hear that you're a little bit ahead, of course.
It depends on what goal or objective you're looking at as to whether we're ahead or not. I think we're slightly ahead on number of teams in that, in certain respects. And then there are other things that we've either decided to abandon for now, or it takes a bit longer. For example, we said we'd have 3 regions this year. We decided pretty soon on this year that we wanted to make sure these 2 regions that we currently have of Northern and Southern were much more established, and we could use those as qualifiers for BQC. There's no point in trying to run before you can walk, for example. Once we've got more teams, then more regions than possible. But at that point, we decided that goal was perhaps a little bit too ambitious. For further details, we are currently just finishing off our strat plan review for the whole season. which basically goes through every single point and objective, and says where we are on every single one of them, why we've done certain things, what we need to do next in order to meet those objectives or meet the ones for next year. This will be released alongside an organisational review, which we've just finished for the organisation. So even more details than I can remember off the top of my head right now.
I think that was organisational review. It came through a little bit garbled on my speakers.
Yeah, it's fine. Both of them are slightly different things. With strap plan review is obviously us looking forward and seeing how, and now we can see how we are comparing to that and what we need to do to move forward. Organisation review we did within the organisation, seeing where we think we need to improve, what we're doing well, strengths, weaknesses, all that type of stuff, which will also be included in that big fun document that everyone can read.
Well, it is good to hear that you guys are going to be keeping us abreast. I mean, no one particularly likes being kept in the dark over what the NGB is doing, especially for playing cash in. So accountability is great. It's good to see you guys. I mean, to be honest, I think this is a very good thing that you're talking to the community, but that you're. I actually quite look forward to reading that. I'm sure someone in my organisation will talk about that. Going into a specific with regards to incorporation, are QUK any further along on incorporation, or is it still sort of a lofty goal almost?
No, it's definitely concrete, and we are currently halfway through finishing the document you need to fill in before you can send it off, and they can tell you whether you're going to accept you, basically. We're halfway through that. Obviously, it takes a bit longer because there's only a certain amount of us. Everyone has about a million things to do right now to get ready for the start of the season, finish off the last season, all of that type of stuff that I'm sure people can understand. But most certainly, it is very concrete and very much getting there. So it's no longer a lofty ambition; it's happening.
That is excellent to hear. Progress, guys. So much progress is being done, even in this this off season. I think we've seemed to have, with it being the off season, there's not a massive amount of questions. We seem to have run through pretty much everything we've got to talk about in 25 minutes. So Jack, unfortunately, will not be joining us. Jack Blend was slated to step in for me at 8 because I have a pub quiz to go to. And yeah, I'm trying to think if I've got any particular questions. With the 3 regions that you mentioned before, when do you reckon that'll be a thing? I agree with you that we shouldn't run before we can walk. I think definitely the 2 regions is a good thing to be going. But when are we looking at sort of splitting into, I assume, North, Middle, and South sort of organisation?
Yeah, I mean that. Theoretically, from now speaking, that would make the most sense. It really depends on where the teams end up showing up. If we end up suddenly getting about 20 in Wales, for example, then obviously Wales should become its own region because there's then enough teams to support that. In terms of time frame, again, it's very much going to depend. Obviously now Scarlet's got a lot more people in the department, so hopefully we can see expansion happening much more quickly. But yeah, basically it's just all about sustainability. Once we can sustain 3 regions and make it like worthwhile doing, rather than just having 2 larger regions, that's when it will happen. It doesn't have a specific when it's right to happen.
Scarlett, I believe there's something new with the transfer policy going on. Could you explain that? I haven't heard a massive amount about this. Also, I've got one more question from Hannah pending. I'm sure she'll send it in the next couple of minutes.
So with the new season will come some new transfer guidelines. Obviously, Europe released some transfer guidelines about whether you can be part of 2 NGBs and things like that. So Quidditch UK have currently drafted their new transfer policies, which should be coming out as soon as I can type them up formally and make them look pretty. So that's exciting. Hopefully after that there'll be a lot more questions and I will be able to provide some answers on those but it should see a stricter review of team transfers to make it more sport-like.
So would that be more similar to the USQ thing, where there is like a definite cut-off and that is it, or almost like football, where you've got transfer periods at the start and then halfway through the season?
We've been looking at, I have looked at the USQ transfer policies, but it's probably going to be more of a transfer window. So I'm sure the Bristol Puffs will be incredibly excited that they can do their transfer window updates and things like that.
Yes, I assume Bristol Puffs will provide us with a Quidditch Jim White somehow. Although Bathalisks are making a push in the Southwest social media department, as we've seen with the acquisition of OA, talking about transfer window. Final question from El Shabaki is fairly topical with the World Cup coming up. As the sport grows, would QUK ever sort of consider breaking QUK down into sort of the constituent countries, so having England, Scotland and Wales as 3 national sides as opposed to 1?
So, as far as I'm aware, a team, in order to compete, would need to be, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, that would need to have a NGB to compete.
It's case-by-case basis, according to the IQA's eligibility PDF that I look at every now and again for reasons.
Okay. So, if there was ever call for it, then they would have to speak to the people in charge, but at the moment I'm not entirely convinced that the 3 regions would have the ability to send 3 different teams.
Was this asked in terms of... Oh, sorry. Was
No,
this
go ahead.
asked in terms of like NGBs as well?
Sorry, Mel, what did you say there?
Sorry, was this asked in terms of like splitting up the NGB as well? As in, so that's how I interpret the question, but that might just be me.
I don't believe it was talked as in terms of splitting the NGB. Personally, I don't think that's necessary.
Oh, cool, yeah.
It's more a national, like splitting the national side. So you've got Scotland, England, and Wales playing as home nations, but under sort of the auspices of QUK. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think it'd be feasible to sort of split the NGB. Certainly not now.
Yeah. That's why I was just going to kind of like. That's why I was going to kind of weigh in. So don't worry. I'm good now. Thank you. I was just going to check. Thank you.
We have spoken about doing some form of like 4 nations cup thing as a Quidditch UK like tournament, mini tournament sort of thing, and we're trying to look at some sort of thing like that in the pipeline. The expansion managers, now that we've got the 4 different expansion managers, are quite excited about that. But that's very, very just idealistic.
Yeah, personally, I would see it as sort of a you'd have to have the Celtic countries and then probably North and South to make it a fair competition. Otherwise, I feel that England would steamroller everyone. James, you were about to say something?
I was only going to say that I think there has been quite a lot of kind of low-level interest that I've picked up on for some kind of a home nations tournament, and I think that's probably the direction in which it will go. Like, we will at some point see a state where England, or possibly regions of England, competes with Scotland, Wales, and hopefully Northern Ireland in a tournament against one another, but still compete with the rest of the world as the UK. And then perhaps, if those teams form identities to the point where they do want to split into an English, Scottish, Welsh, and Northern Irish team, that's a kind of a long-term thing, but it's not an immediate plan because it feels it will be too devolved at the moment.
sort of a reverse Lions almost. Then I quite like the sound of that. Yeah, I feel that it is very much a long-term goal. Yeah, I think that is. I think that's sort of us for today. Yeah, Hannah is confirming that she did not mean in terms of national government governing bodies. So that's confirmed. That's definite now, not a supposition.
Thank you. That's good then. Good. Thank you.
Yes. Right. Then this is that's. I think that's enough from me and our friends at QUK tonight. If you want to continue this the discussion further, this will be available on YouTube afterwards, or on YouTube now if you're watching it on YouTube now, as a video on Quidditch Post Media channel. Comments are there for discussion. Please use them. I probably won't see them, but it's good to have this sort of conversation, and we will see you after the World Cup, which I'm sure we're all looking forward to. So yes, goodbye from me, and I assume goodbye from everyone else.
Thanks, guys.
Brian. Thanks, Matt.
All right. So thanks for tonight, and we will see you again soon. Bye.